Buongiorno a tutti. Welcome back on War Room Italia. This is my first interview since these historic elections that have still are to be changing the world, America and the world. And so what better way is there for me to celebrate the beginning of this, what they call is going to be the new golden era, with a very special guest. He has been a determining figure in helping these elections to result in what we all hoped in. And he's my definitely favorite American hero. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Dr. Patrick Byrne. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Buongiorno, Guya Mariani. It's always such an honor to speak with you and your wonderful Italian host. I wish I could speak Italian so I could speak to your audience more directly.
Your buongiorno was perfect, and grazie. Grazie a te. Thank you, Patrick, for taking your precious time to come and talk to not only your American audience, but also to the Italian audience, because I will tell you, I really care. You know, Italy, we have a lot of censorship. And Italians don't know about you, don't know about the American battles, don't know how heroic the American people are. Because if today we have still a freedom, you know, in this world, really, it is thank you to the American people, thanks to the American Constitution that with this latest fight, they managed to preserve it. I want the American people, you know, when you have things, you don't realize the preciousness. And the American people don't understand it, that the American Constitution is the only constitution in the world that allows the power from the bottom up, not from the up down. In Italy, we are in an emperorship. For example, we cannot criticize our president. You go to jail if you criticize the president of our republic, and you cannot elect the president. He's there, so he's like an emperor. And if he doesn't like an elected government, he has the ability to say, no, I don't want this government. So in America, you have the freedom of speech. You have this American Constitution. There was a globalist takeover, a communist globalist takeover by these globalists in Europe, and with the idea of partnering with China very naively, because China is very aggressive. But this was their plan. And there was one thing in the middle. There was one thing in the middle from having a global tyranny and to have what we still have today, which is freedom. And that was the American Constitution, this very important document. And thank you, Americans, and thank you, Patrick, for the wonderful job you did, for the sacrifice, the work, because we still can now hope to have self-determination in life. Thank you so much.
Well, that's very kind. And I recall that you always come at things from an intellectual point of view, and I'm very glad. You know, we had Eleanor Roosevelt, the wife of Franklin Roosevelt, said, big minds speak of ideas, average minds speak of events, weak minds speak of people. And I remember that you always speak of ideas first. And you're right. It is about I view the U.S. Constitution as the flower of a 2,500-year tradition, and that we were just on the brink of losing it. You're right that what's so unique about it is this intellectual inversion where we said government isn't something over us. It's just something we create, like a company. We create in order that everything starts with us. We have the rights. And we give up a little bit of those rights to this corporation in order that it can protect the rest of our rights. And that's all it is. It's like a plumbing company that we hired to do something. And just, you know, it's not, you don't worship the plumber. It's, you've just hired him to do something. And it was that intellectual inversion that really is the beginning of the American experiment. And we were very much in danger. We were very much in danger of losing it. We have broken the hold of the Bolsheviks. And I've come to realize the right word for this. We talk about globalists, we talk about this, that. Ultimately, they're Bolsheviks. In particular, the Trotskyites. This is neo-Trotskyitism is what we were facing but Bolshevik, whether you're talking about the WEF, Davos, the various cartels, financial cartels we've discussed, it's really a Bolshevik revolution where a small group of people think that they are, let's say, chosen to lead, to look after the rest of us.
Yeah.
And that's their worldview, and they can't shake it. And it really offends them, this idea that, no, we the people are going to, power comes from us. And we don't want any group of people to be chosen over us to be our betters and to be our guides. We don't want that at all. So thank you for the monumental historical consequences of the moment.
Yes, and as you teach, and maybe you can explain a little bit to our audiences, Trotsky was a communist, of course, a Bolshevik, and he was an internationalist, right?
Right.
He wanted to export, which is very similar. Okay, there is just a very slight difference between Nazism and communism. In communism, the state owns everything, and people don't have private property, and therefore the corporations are owned by the government. So everybody gets a paycheck from the government. So everybody says whatever their employer says. Okay. So you shut up. And if this month the salary is not 1,000 euros, but 500, you have to shut up because he's the only employer. You have no say. You're a slave. Fascism, instead, yes, there are corporations, but are corporations just because they delegate, let's say they outsource the administration to some private citizens, which are, however, an extension of the government. But
Exactly.
more or less, it's the same story. They're both authoritarian. The difference between Nazism and Trotskyism is, which is, I believe there was this metamorphosis, this transition, talking about the trans of Hitler, in which before he was a nationalist, okay, where he implemented this sort of fascism. I'm Italian, I know about fascism, which is a socialist government, which he applied this sort of fascism inside its national borders. But then he said, well, you know what? I'm going to export this model and I'm going to conquer Europe with it. I'm going to conquer the rest of the continent. And he shifted into this Trotskyist. He was a fascism with a twist of Trotsky. What did you say?
I love to point out to Americans, and they're always shocked when I point out that Benito Mussolini was a socialist. He was the editor.
Oh, yeah.
He was the editor of Avanti, the Italian socialist publication. And then he fought in World War I. All socialists, all collectivists. It's various flavors of collectivism versus believing that the individual has worth and has rights. And collectivists always need some kind of ideology to bind the collective together, because ultimately their philosophies are based on hate. Their philosophies are based on, hey, I hate him and you hate him and she hates him. And if we just bind together, then we can overthrow him. And they're really based on hate as opposed to love and consent and respect, and which creates free markets. If you respect the other person, everything is voluntary exchange. So collectivist ideologies need something that binds the people together. The original Marx and Lenin ideology, it was working class consciousness. Mussolini was a socialist, a particular kind. You probably know, an industrial syndicalist. He was a student of Gentili, as I recall, the Italian, and he fought in World War I, and unlike many socialists, because they thought the working class consciousness transcended that. And then after World War I, he kept his exact same idea of how you organize society, but he had a new frosting on top. And the frosting was, instead of that binding being class consciousness, it's going to be extreme nationalism. But he was absolutely a socialist. And as I recall, I'm sorry?
100%. And I will confirm a couple of things. Please finish. Go on.
As I recall, when Mussolini got overthrown in 43 or 40, he was out of power. Then Hitler got him back in, and there was a republic. He got him back into power. Northern Italy, they established. Was it the Italian Socialist Republic or something like that? What was the name?
Repubblica Sociale Italiana.
Yeah, so they can't give up the collectivism. So that's so beautiful to hear.
Yes.
Say that again. Italia.
Repubblica Sociale Italiana. Italiana. It was RSI. Yes, I confirm. When he was kidnapped, do you remember? He was arrested in Rome. Okay, so Hitler freed Mussolini. Okay. So the lands of the north, which I'm in northern Italy, were still part of the Nazis. The Nazis that conquered. So what Hitler did, he said, okay, you, Mussolini, go and organize the northern regions of Italy. And Mussolini declared these regions a new republic. This was in 1943 when he was freed, from Hitler. And it was here on the lake. It was a Repubblica. We were a Repubblica Sociale Italiana. And we were socialista. We're socialists, not only. But after the World War II, and we reorganized the first Italian Republic, because we were a monarchy before. And I have to tell you, they rigged, talking about rigged elections, they rigged our election because there was a referendum, and we chose monarchy, and they rigged it, and we did Italian Republic, because by then we were under the dominion of the British. The British, who were already globalists, okay? They were still those same people, okay? And, but anyway, they rigged our elections. We got in the First Republic, and the spin-off of the fascist, il fascismo, del Partito Fascista, was Movimento Sociale Italiano, MSI. Socialist. And not only, I want to say something, it was very interesting how you described it, Patrick. I'm very impressed that you got the essence. I don't know if you know what it means, fascismo, because fascism means a fascio is when you get a grain. In fact, that was the symbol, the grains, and it's tied, bound together. Right. Okay, bound together by, and un fascio is like even a beam of light, un fascio di luce, where you gather and you bind together. And it was interesting how you mentioned now collectivism bound together by some usually hateful ideology, like the Democratic Party does in America. Very
right. It's all because they're basic pitches. You're weak alone, and you're weak, and you're weak. But boy, if we just bind together, we'll be stronger together. And in some kind of syndicate or some kind of union. So it's all based on weakness and fear and hatred rather than on love and consent.
Love and productiveness.
In America, we have in universities, you can play sports, like if you play soccer and you're good enough to play on your university team, you play other universities. But the people who aren't good enough to play on the university team will often play in what's called intramural. And so you've got a dozen teams within the university, some with this department, some with this fraternity, some with that sorority, and their teams, they don't represent the university in battles with other universities, but they still have a league and they play among themselves. That's called intramural. Do you have that in Italy?
Yes. We also have this sort of competition.
To me, all these questions of socialists, communists, Bolsheviks, Mensheviks, Trotsky, Stalin, Lenin, Mussolini, Hitler, they're all intramural. They're intramural competitions among the same university. And it's the same university of collectivism, authoritarian. It's authoritarian, totalitarian. The thing they all have in common is they're totalitarian. They want a totalitarian society ruled from above, authoritarian, and they just have different but they're different teams within that one school of thought.
Yes, they have different shades of the same school, shades of interpreting their ways of how to better crush the people and maintain their control.
Yeah,
But
and even when they fight
I
amongst
want to,
themselves, you should realize it's just an intramural battle. When Mussolini put Gramsci
oh,
in
there was,
prison,
yeah,
that's just intramural competition among the same
of
university of
course.
authoritarianism.
Of course, and also, all these tyrants, they want to be number one. They can't be a number two. So at one point, they will start. They collaborate when they want to defeat, to maintain their control. But then they start eating themselves because, they want to be, because they have this sort of arrogance that is very typical of the liberal mind. They think they're smarter. They're stupid in truth, because all they do, all their things are fallimentary, but they think they're smart. And so they want to show that they are better than the other, because fundamentally, I believe that deep inside that they know that they are stupid. And so they want to show, because you want to show when you have insecurity. You want to, even people that have to, show the car that is way too bigger than them, or the girl that he hates her, but he has to go out with this girl because she is 2 meters tall, Okay. And because he's insecure, he's not a real man, And
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I thought you were finished. Go ahead.
yeah, no, I'm done. Please go ahead.
Can
And then I have
I,
to introduce something about you.
I've had the luxury of running a whole bunch of different companies,
Yeah.
from from tiny 3-man shops to 4,000, 5,000 people companies. And one thing I've learned is that you're so right about what you just said. Those people, so I've had the ability to play sort of imagination land and see how different kinds of people do. And I'm very open-minded, for example, about taking kids who've studied history, and putting them on a team of engineers. And you know what? The team would get smarter using people with that kind of education. They were very useful in America up until about 2010. And I can tell you, I started noticing around 2010, maybe a little bit earlier, they were the most useless people you can imagine, are the people who come from the ideology that says people like them should be running everything, that only if they were able to organize society, they could make it so great. When you put them in an actual position where they can be measured, they are the most universally useless people.
Wow.
What they've learned in their fake education is a bunch of posturing and snottiness and gaslighting and stuff that works in a university setting, that because people are often just weak, that that you put it in an actual situation where people have to solve problems and work together to solve problems. They are the worst people, but they're the ones who are absolutely sure that the world would just be so much better if only people like them were in charge of everything, making decisions.
Oh yes, of course, of course. But then when you put them there in charge, they destroy everything. And even after they see the rubble, they won't admit it's their fault. They will find some excuse.
Which you can do in politics. In politics, you can get away with it forever for being lame-brained and just being a disaster, and there's always someone to blame. But in a business setting, when you're giving someone a business unit to operate,
but Patrick,
at the end of each month.
You know that governments are built in a way, agencies are built in a way in order to never find the real person who has the fault. If you have many offices, you can say it's his fault, it's his fault, it's his fault, it's his fault, and you will never find the real. It's done on purpose here in Italy. It's a technique. It's a technique so that you will never find the source of the problem.
It's a blob. Okay. It's a swamp.
Yes, it's a scheme in order to, you can always blame something and somebody else and somebody else, and so nobody can be blamed and nobody can be charged, and so they can keep on, and it's done on purpose. We have this like a web, a particular web. But I
And then
want
they
to
can say,
say
if you only give us,
something.
they also say, well, if you only give us more money, then we could have solved it.
Oh, of course. The money is always welcome. Allora, I want to say something now, Patrick, about your movie, about your book. I translated the book Danger Close. I'm going to show the cover of Danger Close, which is very good. It's a very beautiful cover. Okay, so yes, that was the cover of Danger Close. I translated the book. It is here. Pericolo imminente, okay? It's imminent danger, because danger close in Italian. And I translated the book. I'm publishing it for the Italians, or even for the American Italians that are there. If you have an American, an Italian father or grandfather, mom, like this, and you want to, share something in Italian that maybe they might like to appreciate. And now it's almost Christmas. You can buy this book, because apart from the fact that it's fantastic, Patrick, it's a fantastic book. The story is James Bond is nothing compared, because it's a real story. It's not made up, and it's quick to read. And I hope I translated it well in Italian, perfectly, I have to say. But also, what I want to tell the audience here is not only to watch, to read the book, but also to watch the movie. Why? Because the movie contains a few things that are not in the book, and vice versa, of course, because the book is very well, there's so many facts inside the book. So you have to watch the movie and also buy the book, because it's an incredible story that is really so entertaining. But what I have understood, the juice of it, Patrick, is that, I don't know if you yourself understood, that the CIA, the FBI, under the control, the executives, Obama, the executives of these globalists, at the end of the story, what you audience will understand is that they use the seductive talents of this man. Okay, they use his charm to do a global coup d'etat. So I hope you understand how important your seductive skills have been for the world.
You're blushing.
What did you say, Patrick, to this? We didn't know you had all these secrets.
I didn't know I had those other.
Tell your women, your fan women, which once I interviewed Patrick live. And I have to say that unlike all the other celebrities that I meet around, you usually, when you see a celebrity, any celebrity you meet, you will always get disappointed. Patrick has the opposite. You look amazing in real life. You're so charming, so nice, and you're much better than the movie or video. So please explain that. Explain to your fan women how this works. How did they use you? Just a little bit. And then I'm going to show the trailer to the Italians with Italian subtitles. So please explain what you did.
Well, I should explain. I'm much taller and handsomer when I stand on my wallet.
Yeah,
on occasion, I've been used to farm my way into situations and always try to do the right thing for the world and the U.S. Always trying to do the right thing, but I was misused. I was very much misused by my own government in A, setting up a bribe for Hillary Clinton, and B, getting close to a certain Russian woman named Maria Butina that was a foreign student in America, and that they wanted to keep tabs on, and they basically wanted her to move around Washington, D.C. and smudge up the Republican Party. And I helped them, not thinking that's what I was doing. I helped them. I bribed Hillary Clinton thinking that I was doing this for law enforcement. It wasn't for law enforcement. It was so that they could blackmail her and I worked with Maria and helped her move around DC. I thought that I was getting to know her in the hopes that there were some smart people. She wanted a back channel into the I could have connected her to the foreign policy establishment if I'd wanted, but first I needed to convince the authorities, the gatekeepers, that and do what they said in order to get to know her better. That's why I thought I was doing it, but it turns out they were using her to smudge up the Republican Party and set up and get warrants on people and things like that. So in two ways, they lied to me and used me.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you were used and abused, and you got them with a genius, absolutely genius. Not only genius, but you have to have, can I say a semi-bad word, attributes in order to sustain the level of stress to perform your torpedo against the deep state when you realize they were using you. You have to have a lot of internal strength, Patrick. So maybe I guess that was what maybe you took from your martial arts past.
It's actually
Because
jujitsu. I think of it very much as jujitsu. That I was jujitsuing them. They had me. They had me between a rock and a hard place,
yes,
and I found a way to mix metaphors to jujitsu the situation.
yeah.
And I did that. Should I tell your viewers what I did?
Exactly. Yes, absolutely. But I just needed to say that Patrick also would like to add, if you could add, could you please even say how stressful was it for you while you were doing this jujitsu act of, tell the audience
It was
and tell
pretty
us
stressful. It was stressful because I was running a 2,000 man company at the time, $2 billion
yeah.
company. And I had, they knew, well, ultimately I realized they were holding a gun to the head of the company as a way of keeping me under their control.
Hmm.
And so I had to pop out of my company so that I could go public. They would have destroyed my company. Now, it just so happens that the people who then took it over just have, I think,
Destroyed it anyway. Yeah.
yeah, a bunch of guys from Utah, which is, but anyway, uh, yeah, what I did was I put my chain of command in a position for them to continue. They had to do something really bad. And that was, I eventually told them that I had drugged this girl, Maria Bertina, so I could question her. Well, that's kind of an edgy thing to say that you did in the United States, even when you're in good graces with the government. We actually are the good guys. Other nations and our enemies do stuff like that, like nothing. But we actually aren't supposed to do things like that. But Brennan and Comey accepted what I had done. So then I let them know that when I had drugged her and questioned her and could find no discrepancies, while she was basically passed out, I had sex with her, which of course would be rape. And Brennan and Comey, that got back to them. And now if they had any sort of decency, they would have stopped the mission at that point and said, we got to stop what we're doing. But they were too tied to the Russian hoax that they were setting up. So they didn't stop it. So then I went on and I proposed that at one point later, I proposed that I murder Maria Butina for them. And
You're genius.
and the agents involved, I have to always be clear. I swear to God, they were decent men. They jumped out of their seats. One almost drew a weapon. I heard his weapon come out of his holster. And they stood over me and they said, we don't care what orders come from DC. If you harm a hair on Maria's head, we're going to kill you ourselves. You hear me? So they stood up for Maria. They did the right
That's
thing.
honorable. That's very honorable.
But that got all the way back to Brennan and Comey. And I did not know for several years what happened. But several years later, I find what I thought of that as a torpedo that would go to the depths of the deep state, and it would find there was no way Uncle Sam was going to let that slide. I was going to go to the depths of the deep state. I was going to find the demon at the depths of the deep state who was either going to say, you know what, we need to stop this. Byrne's gone crazy. He's doing this, that, or we're just going to put this under the rug and go on and continue as setting up these hoaxes. And it turns out that's just what they did. They waived it. And it turns out it was Barack Obama signed a presidential finding directing 3 federal agents to ignore their belief that I had drugged, raped, and planned on killing Maria Butina so that they could continue using us to set up this whole fake Russian thing. Barack Obama signed that. I think he's the bit like I think all lefties are fakes. I mean, that's what I concluded years ago, that I was around lefties for so much of my early life, and there's a bunch of fakes, hateful fakes. But Barack Obama turns out to be the biggest fake of all. Well, he's the prince of woke in America. He's the god, the prince of woke politics. And he personally signed a presidential finding telling 3 federal agents to ignore the belief that this innocent girl had been drugged, raped, and might be killed so that we could continue this setup we were doing. And I walked in 4 years ago to the DOJ and explained all of this, and their eyes were like this. And the first thing they did was they went and interviewed Maria in her jail cell. And she did just what I knew she was going to do. She said, none of this happened. Patrick was the most, especially in the period in question, I was the most exquisite gentleman to her. I made a point. I said, you're going to sleep in a guest room. We're going to have this old-fashioned courtship. So I did all this so I would create a very clean memory in her mind that for that 6-month period, we had never so much as done anything physical, so that when they went and asked her later, she was able to say, no, Patrick, that whole period, he wouldn't lay a finger on me. I thought it was so strange. He was whining and dining me and taking me out and doing this, that, and the other thing, but he didn't lay a finger on me. I didn't know. That's why.
Yes, I also want to add, because it's in the book, but Patrick, you also, yes, you let's say use the situation of Maria in which they put you in, you turned it around against them. But I have to say that you have also been a gentleman, not only by not taking advantage of her in the second part, also because it served your plan, but you also tried to protect her. You provided with legal assistance after when she was in jail, and this is very, very, very honorable. And so I have to say that you were both caught in this scheme of the globalists. She, I am certain, was sent in accordance, because the globalists are the word global means global. So the globalist is like a situation of deep states infiltrated in all the countries, okay? And therefore, I'm certain that Maria was used also by the Russian government, because what I wonder, when Trump asked a question to Maria, and that was the spark in the public eye of the Russia collusion, that there was some sort of Russian intendimento, no? Some sort of, we have some communication with the Russians between Trump and Putin, was when Trump asked this question to Maria in the public when she first got in America. And I always wondered, out of all the people, why did he pick Maria, So evidently, like you said in the book and show in the movie, everybody knew about the federals, already knew about Maria because you reported on her. And look, by chance, Trump asks a question to this girl. This means that somebody near Trump indicated, get the question from this, and this other person. This is my imagination. This is my speculation. Therefore, somebody near Trump was already working with some Russian counterpart in order to create chaos in the American politics. Because at the end of the story, all this chaos that you in America lived served good to whom? The Russians, the Chinese, even the Iranians, because they get along with the BRICS, whatever. It served them good. Russia has all the interest in the world to have, even here in Europe. I mean, do you think they aren't happy about the immigration problem we have?
No,
Russia, just to make you understand, This serves so much to the Russian propaganda that is amazing, because now Russia promotes itself as being the country where reason and common sense prevails, while the rest of us are like degenerate lunatics, which is not true.
I'm not sure it's not true.
They enable these things, and
Right.
then they pay. I know it because I'm in Italy and we're near Russia, and even politically, they enable these things. They pay for this immigration. They contribute, and then they say, "Oh, look at their mess. We are so much better." But believe me, the Russia government, Putin, I respect Putin very much, because the way they took Russia from the past to what it is today is fantastic. He's a fantastic leader. He is a super intelligent man. But you have to understand that the mentality of a country is very deep. And you cannot change from being a communist regime, and before they were a monarchy, but they were sort of very elitist. If are oligarchies, you can't make them become like us, like our liberal, libertarian democracies. They still have that mentality. This is why Putin gets 90% of the votes, because the political opposition, they crush it. And everybody, I know I have a lot of communists living in Italy from the Eastern Europe. They believe, they have the pensiero unico, unique thought. You're not allowed by law, when you were in a communist country, like Slovenia, for example, you're not allowed to dissent, to have a different opinion from what is being told from the government. So, sorry, I just digressed too much.
Oh, you said a mouthful. I was just thinking, you've said a mouthful.
And I'm sorry, I just digressed. So let's get out of this, and let me show the trailer of your movie, and
Sure.
then we get into what's the future for the world. Okay. Okay. Eccolo qui.
My name is Patrick Byrne, domestic extremist threat number one. Or not. Perhaps I'm just somebody who's willing to say the emperor has no clothes. You can decide for yourself.
Patrick Byrne.
They're following everything that you've been working on.
Yes, sir. Understood.
You may know of me as the CEO of this $2 billion e-commerce company, but really, I have this other life.
You have an unusual relationship with the United States government?
Sir, why are you bringing this up?
The FBI needed me to set up a bribe.
We can't have agents running around creating crimes.
It would violate too many rules for us to do it, but if you're willing to go do it, we'll look the other way.
Hello, my name is Maria Putina.
Then I would make it happen. Instead of being happy, they say,
Just let it play, all right?
"What?"
Let it play?
Now, I know this may look like the Deep Throat scene from All the President's Men, but where do you think that stuff comes from? These things happen.
What you think you know.
I was encouraged to have a relationship,
What you think you are.
and it's heated up.
I'm going to meet the Trumps.
As I was starting to realize the feds were using Maria to smudge up the Republican Party, and they were using me to use Maria. And this truth is going to be so explosive.
Erase every moment from your memory.
If you do this long enough, you begin to feel like an enemy of your own country.
They're going to arrest this Russian grad student so they could say, no, there is an actual Russian at the center of our Russian collusion drama. A civilization all begins with the rule of law. And once that gets corrupted, it's like my worst fears have just been realized. I don't know, maybe I'm just being sensitive.
Very sensitive. So yes, I want to make a little thing to the audience, especially in Europe, because in France, Rumble is banned. You cannot reach Rumble. In Italy, if you go to try to see the movie, you have to go to mymoviesplus.com or to Rumble. But in Italy, if you find this, you will probably find this thing that the video is not available in your country. Well, don't worry, just buy a VPN, set it in the USA, and you can access Rumble, you can access the movie. It's only, it's 2 hours and a half, it's three in 3 parts and 3 docuseries, and it's only $4.99, and it's super worth it, and please watch it. So
yes. I thank you for saying, I'll repeat it, that VPN yourself, make yourself look like, very simple, download a VPN and make yourself look like you're in the US, and then Rumble will play it for you. And it's $5. It's $5. It's coming up on more and more in the next week. It's coming up on more and more channels, by the way.
It's a fantastic movie.
It really, if I was not involved really in the making of it, other than I sat for a week of interviews, but General Flynn made it along with Matt Thayer and the director, but General Flynn oversaw it. General Flynn understood the significance of this movie and this story before anybody else did. He understood that it is kryptonite to the deep state, my story, because it directly implicates Barack Obama. It shows who he really is. And it showed, this is all a coup. We're experiencing a coup that started in Thanksgiving of 2015. And it was started as blackmail against Hillary. It turned into the Russian collusion drama against Trump, then to a stolen election. And now it's turned, so we are coming through it. We have one more shot. I hope Trump gets in and does the right thing. I worry. I think he understands what happened, and he's going to be more muscular than he was the first time. He should never.
You are the one person who managed to come forth publicly and expose how they, in between the moment in which they were going to tear apart the American Constitution, because this is still my idea, they wanted America to get in so many wars, lose, and then when you lose a war, you rip the Constitution apart and you bring in the new government, like probably China or some European crazy. But in the meantime, they kept control of the American government. They hijacked the American government, and you realized, you understood how they used you to control Hillary Clinton, the Democratic Party, and control the Republican Party through the Russia. So they did a coup. They did the coup on the American government, and they used you. You were the means. I told you that you're seductive, your seductive talents to do this.
But the biggest joke of all is they picked the guy we skipped over that I had actually been sent in 2006 to disrupt the deep state.
They chose the wrong guy.
They chose the worst guy out of 300 million Americans, because I had actually been sent by the Senate Judiciary Committee to penetrate the deep state and blow it up. So they chose the guy to do it, the center of all their dirty work. And I've got a letter that says I can't be prosecuted. So the guy that they put in the center doing their dirty work. Now, of course, to get there, I had to do a bunch of things. You don't just knock on the mafia's door one day and say, hey, can I join? You have to prove yourself. So I did a whole bunch of things to prove myself.
Yeah.
But 10 years later, they chose the guy to do all this. That was actually the one guy in America who'd been sent to find them. That's what history.
This is karma. This is God also. But Patrick, this brings me to my question that I want. So yes, mission accomplished.
January 20, it's mission accomplished. Then
January 20th, it's mission accomplished. But however, you're good. You're 99.7. Okay, your mission, Patrick, has been accomplished. Now, apart from these, the senators who are still alive and are still maybe active in their job, they must have been very, very proud of the choice they made on you, because you carried through. You have been faithful to your mission, to the promise you made to them, and to the American people. And this is very beautiful. I think, and this is what I wanted to ask you. Two things. One, how do you feel? And two, I hope, what do you expect now that you have in the new administration? I hope they will recognize the importance, the sacrifice, what you put at risk, your own life for your country. And you were so honest, because you were, I read in the book or heard that you liked Obama, you loved your government, you were trusted the FBI and the agencies. And so it takes courage to break free, to be this independent. And because why? Because above everything, it's the love of your country. What better citizen than to give maybe some position in the new administration? Like I read some comments, just like the other day or another on your Twitter, people saying you should be chair of the SEC for maybe like an initial period in order for you to clean and disrupt the naked short selling practice, which is criminal. You already have a past in this. So how do you feel, and what did you expect in the future for America and for yourself?
Well, for myself, what I want to do is go back to a little home I have in the mountains and be with my mules and my cats and lead a nice, quiet life the rest of my life. This was my big, bold 18-year adventure. I'm not looking for a place at all in the new administration. If I had anything, I think my choice, what I've said before was, I'd have a card table in the basement of the White House with a card that said, third deputy assistant janitor. And I would sit in there and I would bring in some smart people I know, and we would talk to the people upstairs and give them some good advice. Yeah. But I mean, I'm not hankering for that job. I'd rather go home and be free. I do see a lot of people online saying, have me be SEC chair even for 100 days. This is how Buffett kind of used me when I worked for him, just as a fixer. I could go and fix some things. But, now he's got Elon Musk. He's got some other people who know what to do. Milton Friedman really prepared me for, this is a lot of name dropping, but you know that I was great friends with Milton Friedman. And we had a lot of talk about what to do when the day everything had to be reset. It was clear that someday the U.S. would go through financial calamity. How do you come out of it? And I do know his ideas and Buffett's ideas on what you need to fix we could do some, Trump could go down as Trump could do some things that would make him beloved for the next 250 years. The way you fix the tax code, the way you fix the whole social safety net, there's ways that could be done. And I know exactly, I spent my life talking to Warren Buffett and Milton Friedman about how you do that. And I know just how we could do that. I suspect I might have a chance to talk. But really what I'd rather do is just talk to Elon. And he's so quick. I hear he's really, really smart. And just in 15 minutes, I could explain and let him take it. I don't have
you two are, Patrick, sorry if I interrupt a second. You and Elon in common have the fact that you are two visionaries. And you are able, what I would recommend, what I would hope is that maybe you would have the chance or somebody would organize maybe a meeting between you and Elon Musk and his team, whatever, in order to exchange ideas, because you are a visionary. Visionary are men that are beyond the normal intellect or the normal, ideas of how to manage the world, the politics, the government. So these are people who envision the future and who invent the future, the prospect of the future. And you also have the knowledge, of course, the know-how. So maybe a conversation with them, I would have the auspicio that you can confront yourselves, because you have to put together particular minds in order to organize the new golden era that is about to come.
Well,
Sorry if I
Elon and
interrupt.
I are now one step removed. There was somebody, when this story is all over,
Yeah.
and I can say a little bit more.
Okay.
But I'll be able to say it. But Elon and I are now one person between us,
Okay.
and maybe that'll happen. I could in 20 minutes, all the contribution I could make to DC, I could actually make if I just sat with Elon for 20 minutes and explained to him what Milton and Buffett both thought were the right things to do at this moment. And it would put it would set it up for the next 100 years of success.
Yeah. Allora, you know what I'm going to do, Patrick? Because it's something I really wish. Look, I even put the American flag. So I talk to the American people, even to the Italians. Tag with this interview that I will post. Tag Patrick Byrne and Elon Musk. Let's do it. All those who want this to happen, tag Elon Musk and Patrick Byrne together, because I believe wholeheartedly, sincerely, translating your book, following your work, you invented the CBDC. You're the blockchain. You were ahead of everybody. You're the first company to accept cryptocurrencies. You did so much in this field. Unlike you compliment Elon Musk because you know how the dirty things work in the stock market. All these things that he is concentrated on getting humanity to Mars. Those. The darkness behind many operations, and you have to have a conversation to complement each other's knowledge and to move forward with strength. Okay, well, so I did my appeal. Tag Patrick and Elon.
Okay, from your lips to God's ear. I bet maybe we'll have 20 minutes together sometime. But anyway, you know what I liked about Elon? Yeah. I pretty much have given everything to this. I've blown through more or less a $200 million fortune to do this. Elon, at a very vulnerable stage, precarious stage for him, he bought Twitter and he allowed it to be free speech. And there are things that could have been done to him that would have made his empire collapse. And he just decided to do it anyway. And he really risked it all for the cause of Western civilization and freedom. And I didn't think there was, frankly, anyone but me that would have done that. And now I see that there's Elon too. So
you see, you're the perfect couple. And what about America? So now we know about your future. You're going to be with the mules in a little hut, and consulting Elon Musk from a little hut with mules and and cats. And what about America? What is the future of America?
Well, we just bought ourselves, assuming Trump gets in, and you can't take that for granted. We got 2 months where anything could happen. These Bolsheviks have waited 100 years for this moment, and they're not going to surrender power so easily. We took them off guard. I will tell you this much. I will tell you something. They thought on Tuesday the 5th they were going to hijack the election again. They thought they were going to, and it's why they let things progress that far. They thought that they had the steal in. I put up on Twitter, Kamala Harris and her people visited somebody and had a business discussion about 5 days before the election, not knowing that person is actually a friend of a friend. And that person got back to me immediately saying, you can't believe this. They're 100% confident. They say, don't worry about the polls. Don't worry about what you read in the press. We got this in the bag. They were even smirking. They thought that it was rigged. They thought that it was rigged for them. That's why Kamala didn't even have a concession speech written. We took her 24 hours to come out and make a concession.
No.
They thought it was rigged.
They were confident. Something happened.
Something happened that disrupted their rig, and maybe someday the world will.
One day you will tell us.
Anyway, but they realized that they have two. I don't think they thought that. I know that they didn't think they were going to be in this position. They didn't contemplate it for a second. They have 2 months to try to pull something off. I worry about Trump. I worry about, what's up with him. They could kill him. JD Vance surprised me. JD Vance was better than my understanding is the Republican Party gave Trump 4 choices for his VP candidate, and he took one that was the most MAGA. The other 3 were rhinos, but he took the one that was the most MAGA, and that's JD Vance. And he certainly performed beautifully, I thought. On the
it was a big surprise.
Yeah, we can't lose Trump, and so we bought ourselves 4 years or maybe 2 years, and it just really comes down to whether he's going to come into power and do the right thing. I think he will. I think he realized that he almost lost. I mean, Western civilization almost fell on his watch, and he got tricked. He got some terrible people around him misleading him, and all of DC was against him. So I think he's going to come back in a more muscular fashion than he did the first time. And if he does, we can set America. We're coming up on America's 250th anniversary, and he can buy us another 250 years if he does the right thing.
Yes, it's not just the American presidency that you have to take back, especially have to take back the FBI and the CIA, because they're not working for the American government. And what did you say about...
It's all been captured by Bolsheviks, by Trotskyites from the top, globalists.
They are a police or an intelligence enforcement body that is working not to maintain the good of America, but to maintain the good of the globalist order. So, as you said in the Department of Justice, you wrote Obama put all his men, all his holdovers. So I think that they have to clean up these and make sure that they understand that it's the President of the United States, the chief of America, who is working for the American people. So I think they have to because when you give a little power to people in general, it's a human nature, then they tend to take more and more and more. And now they have to de-escalate and recalibrate the equilibrium within your law enforcement agencies. This is fundamental, because otherwise, if your policeman works for somebody else, you can have the best president in the world, but you cannot enforce your policies. Yes, you are still in danger. It's not danger close, it's danger.
Churchill said that America always does the right thing after they've exhausted all the other options. But we have to understand that Obama brought in, it's this whole social justice ideology, which is just another entrant in the intramural game of authoritarianism. It's a bunch of nobodies who think they should be running everyone else's lives, and they're schmucks. They're silly people. They're not setting aside the evilness. They're silly people. I've worked with those kinds of people in very measurable environments, and I have demonstrated to myself well over a decade ago that they are the silliest people. They're just absolutely silly, and yet they think that the world would be better if a bunch of guys like them were running things. So he brought that in. He broke the Constitution. He came in with a pledge to fundamentally transform America, and he almost, by which he meant shred the Constitution, and he almost got away with it.
Yeah. So one more question, please, just the last, and so that we wrap. I have this 360-degree situation of view. There is a case, Hunter against you, Dominion against you. I'm gonna tell me these 3 names. Eric Coomer, Dominion, Jack Smith, Hunter Biden. What will happen to these things, to these people? And now that Trump is in the presidency and Hunter wants the pardon, and I guess Dominion doesn't want to go to jail, and I guess Jack Smith doesn't want to completely be disbarred, okay, for the crimes he committed. I guess maybe shouldn't they also consider to let go some attacks that they have on other people, including maybe yourself. What will happen to these people? Jack Smith,
Well,
Coomer, and
oddly enough, I
Biden.
do hope it would be a cheap price to get some healing if Trump would come in and on the first day pardon Joe Biden and Hunter Biden for anything they did. Just bury that hatchet. I think Joe Biden may have come to his senses in the last 6 months and actually done things that helped Trump. And I think that they should just, Hunter's a troubled guy. I would be fine if they just, pardon him and Joe. I think Dominion, a bunch of people are going to go to prison. I think a bunch of people are going to go to prison. I think that, when criminal networks start getting rolled up, very few people have, what's the mafia expression, omerta?
Omerta. Oh my gosh, you know that? Omerta?
Yeah. Omerta
means, I explained to the Americans, Omerta is, if there is a murder, you're sitting on a bench, there is a murder in front of you, and then the police comes and he says, did you see anything? I was sleeping. Okay? I was sleeping. I wasn't listening, I wasn't hearing, I wasn't looking. Omerta. Yeah. It's what kept Italians alive for a millennia.
I don't think these people who've been behind this election stuff are hardened mafiosi who practice omerta. I think that there's some of them probably already rolling, and I think that they're all going to get rolled up, indicted. I think that there's several people in the system who have already rolled and who are cooperating with authorities and are giving up the whole network. And including that these people have been stealing elections for 20 years. I believe and that everyone's going to get indicted. I think that's
that's good.
Yeah, that's what Dominion has in store for it. Jack Smith. Well, I see that Merrick Garland is rumored to be wanting to leave the country. He thinks he's going to be prosecuted, which he should be. He's a goon. He's a Bolshevik. The Bolshevik goons took over our country. For 4 years, the institutions held. I heard from somebody about a year ago within the system saying, don't worry, the institutions are going to hold. The institutions are going to hold. Well, the Obama and his people are very corrosive to the institutions. And if they held, they just barely held. So, but I think that guys like Garland, people have to look at what was really going on. What did he know and when did he know it? And if he should be prosecuted, he should be prosecuted. Look, there's a woman named Tina Peters sitting in a prison for 9 years now in Colorado.
Shocking.
For nothing.
Shocking.
And it turns out it's George Soros's plant in Colorado, the secretary for allegedly revealing one password. Get this, the passwords on the American election systems are things like password 123, because that's how they come from the factory and no one ever changes it. Well, she revealed that. She revealed that in a blurry video because, and they got her, she was trying to show how porous the security is. It wasn't password 123. It's something similarly silly, and that's one of the reasons she's sitting 9 years in jail. Well, it turns out that this Soros goon not only revealed for months the passwords to 63 out of 64 counties in Colorado, turns out that she did it and covered up. She knew about it and covered it up. And there's a tape that just came out today of her talking to the county officials saying, when they confronted her, why didn't you let us know? Why didn't you let us know? She said, I didn't want the media firestorm. Well, that's not how crime works. You can't do that. So if Tina's in prison for 9 years for trying to warn Americans that all these systems are using a password like password 123, then what do you say of the Secretary of State who revealed it for 63 counties, and effectively for all of America, because all the machines come from the same place, and they all have these very simple passwords like that anyone can hack in 5 minutes.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that this is a total injustice. The rules are for one person and not for the other. This is a pure tyranny. It is absurd, Patrick, what happened to America, what is still going on. I hope all these things will find the right balance, in the eye of the justice. You're very generous because these people that we just mentioned, Dominion, is attacking you still with a lawsuit of 1.6 billion. Hunter Biden attacked you, defaming you, saying that it was defamation while you were just saying the truth. And Jack Smith you exposed Jack Smith. Patrick Byrne, I will tell this to the Italians, I'll say it in Italian. Patrick Byrne ha un sito, si chiama Deep Capture, ok? Andate a vederlo perché ha tantissimi articoli interessantissimi di come funziona la corruzione in America, in modo particolare di questo famoso Jack Smith che è andato contro Trump. So I'm sorry. And so I was just saying about your Deep Capture to talk about Jack Smith because it was mentioned in Italy. So you're very generous because you don't talk about yourself right now. I don't ask these people to stop attacking you, but they should. They should stop all their attacks because they are in the fault. And when you said right now something that hit me, and we will conclude now in a minute. I'm sorry for extending the interview beyond the time. But sometimes I hear things like, especially from the governments, oh no, we're not going to talk about the JFK case because the American people are not ready. Oh no, we're not going to reveal what happened to the about the American elections because it might be divisive. Oh no, we're not going to talk about this other truth or the aliens or whatever because the people are, as if the people are stupid, they can't take the truth and it's divisive and they will cause chaos. It's the exact opposite. Let me say, lies cause chaos. Lies cause divisiveness. Even between a man and a woman start fighting when they start lying to each other, not when they say the truth. When you say the truth, people can accept them. And the fact that they say the people are not ready to know is a way to protect the crime, the criminal. So I think that if what you did, Patrick, you came out with the truth, and the American people came out with the truth. Elon Musk provided a platform where people could speak the truth. And what is happening now in America for the first time after a very long period of strong divisiveness, I start seeing that the people are starting to unite again. Mm-hmm. So truth ultimately unites people. People start accepting. Yes. And Tina Peters, you will see, I interviewed her once, she's a lovely, lovely woman. She did the right thing. And all those who lied, all of those who enabled the big lie of these elections, all those people, they have to be careful because, believe me, lies have short legs, we say in Italy, and they are the product, they are ephemeral because truth blends with the harmony of the universe. Lies, no. Lies don't blend. Lies can last a little, cause some disruption, but then they will destroy themselves in a way. And all those, the liars, the people who lie at the end destroy themselves.
From your lips to God's ear. From your lips to God's ear. Yes. Well, that's going to be the case once we make it to January 20th and all the truth can really come out about really what's happened for the last 20 years in America. I think we went wrong probably with the Iraq invasion. Probably with even trying to, there were dumb decisions.
Weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know how many lies before that?
There's
but that was a monumental lie, a terrible lie. But what about Libya? You know what they did to Libya, to Gaddafi? Italy is attached to Libya. And Berlusconi, which was our prime minister, which they persecuted like they did to Trump. And he saved us from becoming a communist, fully communist. He was very good friends of Gaddafi. Libya was a very good friend of Italy. We have many Libyans here. I know many Libyans, wonderful people. And he was a hard general, but those people need hard rules. And what did they do with the excuse with Hillary Clinton, the French, because they didn't want.
She wanted for her presidential run to have on her resume
Yeah.
one Arab scalp that she had taken out one, so she could be real butch. That's why they did Libya, and
the Italians got the chaos from Libya.
Yeah.
Apart from the Libyans, that it's a mess. They destroyed the lives of millions of people. And Hillary Clinton laughs. I have not a good opinion of Hillary Clinton. You can imagine. She laughed.
Look at what the Bolsheviks did in Russia. I used to not understand it, but I came to understand it. The Bolsheviks hated the Russian people, particularly the Christian Russians. They hated them.
Yes.
So to them, it was nothing to exterminate 30 million or 50 million or starve them to death and things like that. They hated.
There were the Bolsheviks and the Mensheviks. Yeah. The Bolsheviks were the more in number and the strongest, and then there were the Mensheviks, which were another group, a spin-off. Okay, let's say of another group. They worked together. They had some differences, like you said, intramural. And they were just hell-bent. But, I also believe that many of these people, the ideology of the leftists, Patrick, in truth, they don't really believe in the ideology. As long as that ideology is a tool for them to gain power, they would say they would believe in anything. They are like prostitutes of it. They are not ideologues, real ideologues. They're not visionaries like you. Visionaries have ideology. You gave all your richness, all your work for an ideology. Those are the men that I admire. They don't have ideology. They are prostitutes of ideology.
I used to think it was about them gaining power, but what I've realized is they're just truly bad people. Yeah. Just like if you take a group of kids to the beach, there are some kids who will sit and build sandcastles and cooperate and build sandcastles, but there's always that kid in the class who he just goes along kicking over the sandcastles. He's basically saying, anything you can build, I can kick over. And they're these weak, puny, awful, horrible people. And you can see them when they're 10 years old and they don't change their life. And to them, they're destroyers of value. They just want to destroy. It gives them, because they know deep down they never can contribute. They never have any way of contributing. They're puny, fearful little people.
Okay. So down with the Bolsheviks. Viva America. Thank you, Americans. Thank you, Patrick. You say you want to go on a hut, but a hero in the soul is a hero, period. I know you will get into some new adventure and you're about to celebrate the best part of your life, Patrick.
I hope so. Inshallah. Okay. Take care, Guya. So
Ciao
great
a tutti. Ciao a tutti. Ciao. Grazie per aver guardato. Grazie. Thanks for being with us. Ci vediamo prestissimo. Buon weekend. Bye bye.